Hey everyone, welcome. Today I'm going to try to address a question that comes up a lot, and that is, what's the best drivetrain in 2025? Is it SRAM? Is it Shimano? Should it be electronic or mechanical? In order to address that, I'm going to use 4 different drivetrains. One is going to be T-Type from SRAM, second one is going to be Eagle 12-speed from SRAM, the third one is going to be Shimano HG Plus, whether that's electronic or mechanical, and the fourth one is going to be the Shimano LINKGLIDE. So let's get to it. And I chose the 4 different drivetrains on purpose because they provide us with the 4 different technologies, shifting technologies used in the market today. That is what gives us the performance, and no, is not only the speed. I know that is pushed by the marketing departments of SRAM and Shimano as of late. Yes, the SRAM latest firmware speeds up the drivetrain somehow, but that is only SRAM fine-tuning their drivetrain, something that Shimano with Di2 did from the get-go. But that's just one aspect of drivetrain performance. I would argue that shifting under load is equally important. Overall, shifting quality is quite important as well. And why not? Let's talk pricing as well for different types of riding. And I'm gonna consider 3 different scenarios for this test. The first one is gonna be casual riding. The second one is gonna be off-road mountain biking, shifting under load to an easier gear, something that most of us are gonna run into. And the third scenario is gonna be shifting under load, but in this case towards harder gears. And I would argue that that's usually something that mostly racers care about. And quick note to say that this is not gonna be very scientific, but I think is very relevant. So let's start with the simple one, or the easiest one, casual riding your bike around the neighborhood, whether that's hybrid bikes or not. And this is where it's becoming apparent that the 2 big manufacturers know their market. You can see here the SRAM T-Type working just fine. Same thing for Eagle 12-speed, but you move into the Shimano HG Plus or HyperGlide Plus and it works perfectly fine. But the cheapest one of all, this is a LINKGLIDE 11-speed from Shimano, worked just as fine. And with the idea of the LINKGLIDE lasting 3 times longer using 11-speed chains, you could argue that for casual riding, hybrid bikes, everyday commute and occasional trail, something like Shimano CUES or Shimano LINKGLIDE components are the best option. You could argue that for this kind of application, those other drivetrains are a waste. But let's move into more serious stuff where we're talking about shifting under load to easier gears. So that is to larger cogs on your cassette. This is something that would come up when you go trail riding, off-road, any serious mountain biking. And I'm here to tell you that the technology responsible for the performance for this scenario was introduced by Shimano in 1987, and that is called HyperGlide. HG is the short for HyperGlide. All these drivetrains have that, take advantage of it. We're only going up this tiny incline, but that's enough to cram a few gears. And you can see the T-Type performing very, very well. But to be honest, so does the old Eagle 12-speed. You can see here shifting 2 gears at the time. But you gotta be careful because the adjustment of the Eagle 12-speed overall, same with Shimano 12-speed, is very sensitive, so you need to know how to do it. I have quite a few videos talking about that. I'm gonna make sure I put them in the description of the video. Moving on to the Shimano HG Plus or HyperGlide Plus, their 12-speed technology works perfectly fine, smooth shifting under power to the largest cogs on this tiny hill. Finally, the Dior, the XT, the CUES drivetrains that use LINKGLIDE have this technology embedded as well. This cassette lasts longer, has wider tooth base. It does shift fine. Very, very similar to the shifting of the more expensive 12-speed drivetrains. So if this is the only criteria that you are interested in, I would look at a few other things like pricing, like range and things of that nature, because otherwise all these drivetrains are pretty much the same. You could argue that the cheap 8-speed introduced by Shimano, the ESA, that one has the HyperGlide technology in it. What do you guys think? Do you use this? Do you consider this to be shifting under load that everybody's talking about? Or you're looking at my last test here, which is shifting under load when going down the cassette to the hardest gears to the smallest cogs. What do you guys think? This kind of shifting is what was introduced with XTR in 2018, the HG Plus, introduced also by LINKGLIDE later on. And when SRAM introduced T-Type, they tried to address the same need for sturdier shifting that doesn't kill the cassettes, breaks the cassette teeth, it doesn't break the chains, because this is smooth shifting under load, again, to a smaller cog. How do these drivetrains perform? And you can see the T-Type here. This is just amazing, exactly the way they say it. If you put more pressure on the drivetrain, it shifts smoother. You can hear that click, click, click when the cassette ramps, let the chain go onto the smaller cog. Good job, SRAM. Now moving to the Eagle 12-speed. Eagle 12-speed doesn't have the T-Type cassette technology, and this is where it's going to show its limitations. The Eagle 12-speed uses just HyperGlide, so the idea of smooth shifting to the larger cogs. Remember that positive clunk, clunk, clunk that you would hear when the chain jumps down from one cog to the other. Unfortunately, that jumping down from the cog to cog is what causes a lot of issues for the longevity, for the chain. It breaks chains and things like that. If you've been riding long enough, you know how to ease the pressure on that pedal when you shift. It is not as loud. Otherwise, you will definitely hear it. This does not affect the shifting per se, it's just noisy, as you can see. Now, once we move into both Shimano drivetrains, the HG Plus was meant for racing, introduced with XTR. It handles that just fine. It sounds differently compared to SRAM, but again, that is what HG Plus is about. And what it might come as a surprise for you guys, LINKGLIDE takes care of this as well. However, they don't look at shifting from the perspective of speed like the HG Plus does, but they look at shifting from the perspective of longevity. And you're gonna see a slightly slower shift down to the hardest gears, because it's just the shift ramps letting the chain go when their time comes. This is very similar to what SRAM T-Type does. That is why T-Type is a bit slower to shift down the cassette, very similar to LINKGLIDE. But remember, LINKGLIDE is made for e-bikes, it's supposed to last longer. T-Type is supposed to work just fine with e-bikes as well as pedal bikes. So they had to involve a technology that's very similar to what Shimano introduced. HG Plus was launched with XTR, a race group set, meaning that they focused on fast shifting and lower weight. Shimano most probably had in mind LINKGLIDE at the time that addresses all their other needs for high torque applications, for e-bike applications, or entry-level bikes that I assume Shimano sells a lot of, especially in Asia. By the way, we were in Andorra watching the World Cup, and you can see these riders using either Shimano or SRAM electronic 12 speeds, just shifting gears as they're climbing up this hill. Did you hear any gears crunching? Did you hear any unusual noises? The answer is no. These drivetrains are the pinnacle of design. They are very good these days. I don't think you can go wrong with either one of them. At the same time, I have to mention one thing. If you guys are looking for perfection, it doesn't exist. I can hear the T-Type once in a while having a noisier gear shift. I can hear the HG Plus doing the same thing, not to mention my good old Eagle 12 speed. CUES maybe even less so than all these others. These are pretty sophisticated, really tight tolerances. The installation is very important, and wear and tear is definitely going to play a role in the functionality of these. But I would say that the new Drivetrains, 95% of the time, work really well. You can't really go wrong with either one of them. So, trying to answer that loaded question, which one is the best? I don't know, what is your use case scenario? Do you care about using a derailleur hanger, or you want that full mount of T-Type? Do you want to go wireless, and now both SRAM and Shimano have wireless group sets, or you want to stick with something that's mechanical? Mind you, Shimano had the mechanical HG Plus since 2018. SRAM just introduced it in 2025. What about CUES as the cheapest one of all? Do you care about anything else but price and smooth shifting? And I would argue again that LINKGLIDE components are the hidden gem in our market today. Let me know what you guys consider to be the best drivetrain for your application. I would love to hear if you use any other criteria. Did you find this test useful in any way? Would you add anything else to our discussion? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you guys found this useful, and if you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And until next time, hope to see you guys on the trails, regardless of what drivetrain you're running on your bike. Cheers, guys. Cheers.